Hey, 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 good evening, everyone. How are you doing? I hope you are doing well. It's good to be back here again. How's the week been? Have you been getting on? So if you notice, I've moved down to the floor. I think I'm going to do them from the floor, just a bit more comfortable. Who else is a fan of sitting on the floor? Even if there's sofas, there's chairs, there's everything, just likes being on the floor. So I think we're happy down here. Let me know when you come on, say hi, say hello. Let me know you're here. And let me know where you're listening from as well. That would be good to know. If you are watching this live, so say hi. If you catch it up later as well, comment replay so I know that you're watching it later. And if you find this on YouTube, hey there. I do upload them there as well. So say hi when you come on there. So I'll give you guys a minute to come in. How's everyone been enjoying the glorious sunshine? I haven't been going out much. Not been making the most of it at all. So, but I am fortunate because actually from my bedroom window, it's what's it called? Velux window? Is that what they're called? The one that slants. So it's like a roof window. So it's almost like being outside when the sun's shining. So that's how I've been getting my fix. Who else has been staying in like I am? Am I the only one? Yeah, so yeah, that's how I've been getting it. Not been going outside much. I keep saying that I will, but just haven't gotten around to it yet. Okay, I can see there's a few of you coming on now. Say hi when you come on. I am gonna jump in. Let's talk money. If it's your first time here, by the way, welcome. My name is Trust. I'm a budget coach, professional women who are looking to keep hold of more of their money, and I show them how to do that through budgeting, money management, and all of that good stuff. And that's what we talk about here, getting women to feel really comfortable and confident with managing their money and knowing that they are going along the path that they want to go in terms of how they're managing it. So today I thought we'll talk about 5 numbers that I think that you need to know that you are being financially smart, that you're on the right path. And if you have all of this to hand, you are really set up in a good place to knowing what it is you need to do going forward. So if there's anyone that you already are on top of, well done to you. Comment below, let us know that you've got that covered. And if there's anything that you're going to do different from hearing this as well, I want to know that because that is good feedback for me. If you know someone that you think this will be valuable for, share this with them. Absolutely costs nothing, so they have that information as well. Okay, so what are the 5 numbers I think you need to know? You need to have them at your fingertips. So the first one on my list is what I call your fighting number. So this is the amount of money that you need on a monthly basis. Let's go with that. On a monthly basis to get the essentials covered. Like if I woke you up from your sleep and say, how much is that? Do you know it? Do you know how much it is to have the essentials covered? So I'm talking things like food, housing, whether that's a rent or a mortgage, your bills, anything that must happen, that if it doesn't happen, there are, real consequences. How much is that number for you? Do you know that? Because once you know that number, you know where you can't fall below. And at times when, because we all have that. We all have spells at some point in life when things are a bit difficult. If you know what that fighting number is, what is that bare minimum, I promise you it's not as much as you probably think, because if you actually sit down and look at what is it that is actually needed, like the bare essentials. When I coach women to create a budget for the first time, that's what we're starting from. What are the bare necessities? And I promise you it's not as much as you think. And you might find that actually knowing what that number is might even take off some of the pressure in terms of how much you think you need to make. So that is a number that I would say, if you don't know that, it's good to have that to hand and know exactly what that is. So the bare minimum. The second number that I would say you need to have, just sort of following on from that, is how much do you need to then be comfortable? So not the bare essentials. So we're adding things like, how much you want to go out to eat, how much, I don't know, someone like me, for example, if I want to have the massages that I'd like to have, how much do I want to add on to that to incorporate that in? Whatever it is that is not something that you need to do, but it's nice for you to do it. Like you want to go on however many holidays you want to go for, so you don't need it, but it's nice, it's enriching, it makes life just that little bit more enjoyable. How much do you need to be able to pay for that? Because if that's not something that you have, or you already have it, that's something you can work towards. I come at it from a place of not just so we're done with survival. So that was the first number. Now we're getting to well-being. So if you think about it in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right at the bottom you have those essential, those basics, and once you have that covered, you then go on to things that are more sort of self-actualization, fulfillment, well-being, things like that. How much do you need to be able to not just cover the basics, but also those things that are nice to have for you? And you can work towards that in terms of keeping a good, mental headspace and feeling fulfilled and feeling accomplished. Because I'm sure that a lot of us here, we work hard, and it's good to be able to enjoy life as well, and knowing how much you need to do that, and know that this is going to be great. You want to have that number to hand as well. So that is number two. Number two. Okay. So the third number, sort of moving on from that, on that scale, to then looking beyond ourselves. So if there is a goal you have, something that is outside yourself, whether that be for charity, a cause that you care about, if you want to build, if you have a goal to build a school or sponsor a child somewhere or sponsor an animal, those things that are outside yourself, because you got to let yourself dream of these things. Because in terms of fulfillment, as you grow as a person, and growth, money follows that, it needs to be bigger than yourself. It needs to be bigger than you. And if you start thinking, so I think in terms of legacy, what legacy am I leaving, not just for my son, but also beyond myself? And so if you have goals that are aligned with that, a lot of the time they might involve money. And even if they don't involve money, so if you are someone that likes to give of your time, for you to be able to take that time out to go do that, you need a certain amount of income that you don't have to worry about that if you're going to spend your time doing that. So how much is it you need to either be making or have in hand for you to go give of yourself beyond yourself? So something that's not for your immediate gain or for your family gain, but something that's bigger than you. Because I promise you, there is nothing like the feeling of knowing that you are making a contribution. I am a big believer in giving. Not only does it help remind you of the fact that you are in a position that someone else would wish to be at, but there's just a sense of well-being that comes from that. Again, just working our way up that scale, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs of making an impact. So I would say that's it. That's a number that's worth knowing. I think for the first time this year, so at the start of the year, I actually, when I was planning out my diary for the first time, actually, not just like previously I would give, but it was just sort of as and when. For the first time this year, I actually planned out in advance how much percentage I wanted that to be, and then factor that into the income that I was going to have. And that is a good thing. That was for me. You don't have to do it that way, but that was something that I did for the first time this year. Okay, so the next number, so that was number 3. the fourth number that I'm going to talk about now, stay with me here. It's a bit more convoluted. If you are, I don't know, under 40 or something, it might seem like planning ahead, but it's never too early to plan. So how much do you need to retire? And the reason I'm asking this, because I was doing some research just before this and looking at what is pension these days. Now, someone who is, if you're already getting that, feel free to jump in here. But what I was saying, that for a couple, if it was just state pension, it is roughly around £16,000 a year. That's probably not a lot for a lot of people, for two people to manage on that. So usually, most of us, we would have pension that's private as well, that's come through an employer. And so this is something that we have to think about. And I think that people should have an investment into their own pension as well. And so just as a rule of thumb, the way a lot of people calculate this, if you have your money for retirement in something that is an investment or something like that, to work it out as a general rule of thumb, because investment on average, so if you're invested in the stock market or any of the markets out there, generally you have a growth rate, an interest rate of anywhere between 8 to 10% per year. Sometimes it's around 6. So let's say between 6 to 10% a year that a portfolio, the value of a portfolio would grow. So you want to get to a point where 4% of however much you have in your investment or your retirement fund, whatever you want to call it, would be enough for your yearly income that you need. So however much you need to live off over the course of a year, you want it to fit within 4 to 5% of what you have in your retirement portfolio. That, I don't know, I hope that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, feel free to comment below. I'm happy to run through that. So you want to have whatever you are going to retire on, 4% of that will be enough to look after you for the year. So you want to work out how much do you need to live on a yearly basis, right? Get that in. And what is that 4% off? And that's an average number of what you want to have in your retirement. So how much do you need to retire? It needs to be an amount that 4% of that is your current annual income. So that is just a general rule. That's what a lot of people find helpful, especially a lot of people that are in the FIRE movement. You might have heard me talk about it. So FIRE, which stands for Financial Independent Retire Early. So it's a bunch of people who are in their 30s, 40s, who are choosing to retire because they have worked out with this formula how much it is they need, and as that income keeps growing on a year by year basis, every year they're only taking 4% of that to live on, and that's enough. And the market is growing that as well on a year to year basis. So you want to know what that number is. I'm still working it out for me, but I think that's an important number to know, especially if you are coming to a point where you think you would like to take it easy, you want to plan retirement, just knowing, are you going to be okay, depending on what's happening in the market. And that 4%, rather than going the max of 6 to 8%, is just to give yourself some buffer there, because of course cost of living changes and things like that. All right, and the last number 5, and that I think you need to know to be financially savvy, is what is your net worth. I encourage women to think in terms of net worth, because that's how the wealthy people think about it. And what that is, I'm sure some of you know, but what that is putting together the difference between everything you own versus everything you owe. So everything you own outright. I'm not talking of things that you are paying off. So a house that you're still paying off, I'm sorry, you don't own it yet. I'm talking about things that you own outright, unless of course you're thinking of, the equity that you have in it that you can, take that out. Yes, then maybe you can include that. But I'm talking of things that you own outright. Your pension funds, anything that you own that can translate into money for you, versus everything that you owe. So any debt that you're carrying for a house or a car, student loan, whatever it is, credit cards, holidays, what is the difference between the two? And obviously it goes without saying you want that to be in the positive, but whatever it is, it's good to know it, because then you know where you're starting from, you know where you need to pivot, because you cannot correct something that you don't know whether it needs to be corrected or if it's broken or if it's great. So it's just about knowing in the first place. That is another number that I would say, along with the first one, if someone wakes you up at night, you want to be able to know, what is your net worth? What is that? We have to think about these things not just for ourselves, but if we have kids, for our kids, for our loved ones who, we don't want to put them in a position where they're having to deal with a deficit, or for ourselves, because it can be quite heavy, having more debt than we can actually deal with. So once you know, which is the first step, then you can put a plan in place for how to deal with it. Actually talking about debt, in my private group, the Female Personal Finance Space, we are doing a debt-free challenge. So we're right at the start, where we're actually just gathering information on how much debt we have. So if you want to be part of that, it's not too late. To let me know you would like to be put in there, and I will add you onto the group so you can take part in that debt-free challenge as well, where we are clearing debt, if that's something that's important to you. So those were the 5 numbers that I want to talk about. For those of you that have just come on later on, feel free to go back and catch up as well. But I went through 5 numbers that I think you need to know to be financially smart. So first of all, your fighting number. Second number is how much you need to be comfortable. So fighting number being what is the bare minimum. Number 2, how much you need to be comfortable for yourself. Number 3, how much you need for looking beyond yourself now, making a difference in the world in whatever way you want that to be. And number 4, how much you need to retire to know that you're going to be okay. And number 5, your net worth. So take some time either over the next week or the next couple of weeks. It's not a race, to start thinking about that and having those numbers on paper, because ladies, I want us to know exactly where we're going, what we're doing with money. That is the goal. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. If you have any thoughts or comments, feel free to drop them below. I will pick them up when I come back online, but it's good to be on here. Have a good rest of the week. It's only Wednesday, and I'll see you next week. Take care.